You got me. The moment he said that, a kunai was in his gut. No pity existed in Minato's eyes. A gaze that said, you just died, pal.
You just died, pal! So this time, he just murks this nigga. You just died, pal. What? All right, let's see this what if Minato thing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about what if Minato, one of the coldest characters in the series, never died. Okay, predictions. Last time we did a Naruto what if, shit got gay. Hey, before you try to cancel me for that, nigga, that shit was gay. So the question is, what thing happens this time in what if Minato didn't die? For me, someone's gonna be a pussy. I don't know who. Someone's just gonna be soft. Someone's just gonna be soft as fuck. Obito kills Itachi. Naruto has a sibling. Oh, that might be the parlay. Here we go.
He is considered one of the greatest Hokage of all time, and perhaps the most popular character in the series. The Naruto P99 poll has declared him the winner, making him the most popular character in Naruto.
This was so shocking, but I wasn't remotely mad at it. I didn't want Itachi to win. It's not that I don't like Itachi. It's not that Itachi couldn't be the GOAT. It's just that we saw a lot of Itachi, like a lot. Minato, we're told this, we're told that, but we don't ever fucking see it. All we know is that he was a run-on-site Hokage and that people think he's the strongest. I was all for Minato winning.
Even if most people voted for him merely to see more of him in the spin-off manga that Kishimoto has promised. In honor of this, we've decided to dive into this possibility again by seeing what would have changed if Naruto could have been trained by Minato. The air was cold. The wind was blowing. The night had gone from tumultuous.
Was the air always cold, Chad, or did he change that?
Time had ceased to hold any meaning for Minato Namikaze.
That does not look like Minato. What the fuck was that?
The touch of Kushina's cheek against his arm was like liquid
I know that was
nitrogen
official,
to his soul, freezing it over in a solid block of ice. There was a ringing sound in his ears. The tailed beast bomb from earlier, as well as his own mental state. He saw Shinobi rushing in. Hiruzen rushing in. The former Hokage stopped before him, kneeling down to his level, grabbing his shoulders. Minato! Minato, he called out, as if there was nothing more than static over the radio. Hard to hear, harder to understand. Hiruzen shook him. Minato, are you okay? Hiruzen called out. Physically, he was okay, but mentally, spiritually, he felt like a ghost, a shadow of himself left behind. The village was saved, but his entire world had come crashing down at once. For him, it was as if he were living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. A wasteland covered in flowers and fresh water, none of which held the same meaning that they used to. He tried to think back on the events that led him to this moment. What was it that had brought this on? Why was he where he was now? It was as if he were having some form of selective amnesia, likely caused by whatever traumatic event left the lifeless body of Kushina in his arms. The only way to recover was to relive what had happened to him and reach some sort of closure. He began to remember.
So he just like blanks out? What is the condition for why he survives? He just failed to save Shorty, or like is Naruto dead?
This was the perfect place for her to give birth. It was away from the village to minimize risk should the beast escape, and the tangled web of corridors and passages was enough to confuse and possibly kill any insurgents who would do her harm. Minato could think of no safer location for his wife to bring new life into the world, their precious child. Bringing her into the room where she would give birth, they prepared her for labor. They laid her down on a flat stone slab. It was cold and comfortable. Minato, by this time,
cold
was
and comfortable. Stone slab that's cold and comfortable.
And a shinobi without peer, and his face was already devoid of all color. He began to make use of his excess gear, though. Folding the flak jacket he wore, he wrapped it in the Hokage Haori, the symbols depicting the number 4 clearly visible. Suddenly, he felt panic well up in his solar plexus. The word for the number 4 was also shared with the word for death. For so many, it was an omen, and so many people attempted to avoid the number 4. Minato was not one of those people. What the fuck is this lore? He's just cursed by number 4.
I got something for Minato then. Hey, Minato. Ooh, not number 4. Holy shit. Minato, get down! Minato, get down! Get down! Fuck, nigga. The number 4, bro.
Day, he didn't want to take any chances. He unfolded the Haori and turned
Stacks! Oh no!
Over as Biwako prodded him to get a move on. She was going to have a baby any moment here, and he was just standing around.
Nigga hates quarters.
To hear how quickly she was going. She's already starting to give birth. Hurry,
Nigga
Minato.
can't
Tend to that seal."
stand.
He stuttered for a moment.
Holy
replied to her
shit.
using honor-
That nigga cannot stand change. Soda machine. You gonna need 4 quarters. 4. Comment below something that'll scare the shit out of Minato. We could do this all day, so I gotta stop.
She took his head and looked into his eyes as he gazed back. A smile
Comment
on his
below
face.
what'll scare
She
this
smiled
nigga, bro.
weakly as the pain was already tiring her out. "Let's do it, Minato." He nodded. He came down to her.
Oh shit, there's some like serious lore going on the entire time. Is he about to do a ninja C-section?
Shirt, exposing her stomach as it was enlarged by the pregnancy, the seal in the very center of it already beginning to move, as if it were a false tattoo that was beginning to run with heat and sweat. It was attempting to open. He clasped his hands together and placed them over the seal. He was suddenly hit with intense hatred, as if the Ninetales were a demon attempting to possess him. He was startled for a moment. He knew the Ninetales was in his wife, and he knew that he'd felt his presence before, particularly every time she grew angry, but he'd never felt it this strongly before. Was this what she'd always felt? Such a horrible feeling. Pure malice and hatred. The way she carried herself made him believe she was immune to it, but right now, as the burden was shifted to him, he began to wonder if he could truly handle this. He shook his head and slapped his cheeks and took a deep breath. He widened his stance a little and placed his hands back on the seal. He began to pour chakra in and more Fuinjutsu formula. In order to maintain concentration, he began counting down from 1,000 in increments of 7 to keep his mind sharp. This would help him focus on the task at hand.
Increments of 7. He just cannot. He cannot deal with anything 4 related. He can't do it.
Within his mind, he imagined the Ninetales, as large as it was, stayed right through the fox's abdomen in the same position that Kushina's seal had been placed. The stomach was known as the Sea of Chi, and it was where life force, and with one last push of his chakra, he cinched it. The Ninetales wouldn't be going anywhere now so long as he held it there.
I'm ruining the video, bro. I'm sorry. I just can't escape it.
As the child had been birthed, she sighed and looked to him. Her eyes said without
words,
shit,
the ninja C-section worked. My bad.
He removed his hands from her stomach and turned around to see Biwako carrying his child. He stepped forward, arms out.
Fuck.
Naruto. Biwako pulled the infant back in a defensive way. "Don't touch him. The mother sees him first."
Okay.
Startled, then disappointed, Minato just got out of the
Dick
way
move,
and watched her
but
walk
fine.
away with his child. Part of him wanted to strangle her, and another part respected the fact that she cared more for Kushina, who had obviously been carrying the bigger workload of the two for the past 9 months. So he relented. The child was presented to his mother. She hugged up against him. Eventually, Minato wormed his way past Obasan and made it to their side, where he was able to finally see his baby boy for the first time. His happiness was immense, but it was this one moment. It was the only time he had ever done it since becoming Hokage.
Type shit.
He let his guard down, just once, just for a moment, and it had cost him everything. A masked man in a dark cowl had stolen from them everything. First his child, and in exchange for the baby, he took the wife. An impossible choice. One he couldn't make without reflexes. Taking the child, Hokage Minato finally woke up again. Everyone in the room save him and the child had been killed, Kushina taken. Minato was terrified, but another part of him burned with holy rage.
Yeah, you gotta get your look back on that nigga. I would tell you kind of a fucked human for doing that, but hey, look, man, you gotta get your get back on this nigga. Put Naruto down, eliminate the threat real quick, get your wife back in like that nigga. Obito ain't on shit.
His home over the mountains, he laid the babe down on a bed that he had hoped that all 3 of them would share that night. The child was sputtering and sniffing. He hated to leave him alone, but there were other things to take care of. But he would not leave his child without comfort. Even if the babe could not understand, he would say it anyway, a solemn vow to bring his mother back. He turned around and put his flak jacket on. He witnessed the marked kunai on the wall. He had left it there, not just for ease of travel, but as a reminder to his wife, to Kushina, that he would always come home no matter what. Now he was home, but he was without her. In the distance, he heard the roar of the Ninetales. The village was in trouble. With a simple movement, his Haori was on, and the husband and father he once was had been replaced with the strongest shinobi the village had produced to that point. And if that was bluster, then call him a liar. But for that one night, for his son, his wife, his village, he would make it true. He stepped out into the night and raced to his wife's side.
Nigga.
In the darkness,
press this fuck nigga.
Black ink-like fluid dripping from it. It was like some twisted inversion to what he had done to Kurama, and the look on her face, the look of
Yo, stop, bro. Yo, stop. Yo, what are these pictures, bro? Yo, of all the... Why he got it looking like this?
Sorrow hit him like a cement truck. He freed her. It seems whoever the adversary was, he no longer needed her. Minato would take his wife back to their home where he would lay her in the bed beside her newborn. He had fulfilled his promise, but now he needed a new promise to fulfill. The promise to save the village and Kushina. Those two promises were one, and the stakes had been raised considerably.
Okay.
So too must Minato's resolve. Once more he dashed out. His adversary had the tailed beast under a contract, a genjutsu of sorts. Coming to this adversary, he pulled a kunai ready for battle.
Okay.
He witnessed around his arms chains like those used to restrict Kushina's movement. He was full of rage. He wanted to murder this man. He wanted to erase him from the world of the living.
Okay, so far,
Even hell was
okay,
too good
that
for him.
adds up.
He needed to cease entirely, as if he never existed at all. Before he ran with that, though, Minato took a deep breath. He had to think carefully. He witnessed the Sharingan under the mask. He knew that if this man were anything like Madara, he could control the Nine Tails with that. He needed to wrest control away from him. However, he couldn't be in two places at once. He just needed to trust that Hiruzen could hold the Nine Tails until he could stop this guy. The man spoke.
Yeah,
Now that
Hiruzen,
I've
if you were
freed the
good
Nine
at your
Tails,
job,
people have no
Saima.
hope left. They rushed at each other. Minato attempted to stab through the man, but he found himself suddenly passing through him, the man having turned intangible.
Okay, this
Passing
is easy
through, he
counter.
found himself caught in the chain. The masked man pulled his arms together, hoping to sever Minato in two with
Easy
the chain
counter.
he was now tangled in. However, Minato used the flying Raijin jutsu to escape. Using
Type
his
shit.
powers of
Okay.
deduction, he knew that this man would turn intangible for only a moment, as he needed to strike him. He knew that the
So
contract
this next
he had
one is
with the Nine
KO.
Tails couldn't last long.
So
meaning
far,
that
this is
guy wanted to
easily
end the battle
canon.
as quickly
Nothing
as he
changes
could.
here.
He would ensure that this was the last strike of the
Nothing
battle.
changes.
Minato rushed back again, throwing a kunai at his enemy. The kunai would pass clean through his head as Minato readied his Rasengan. Right at the last moment, though, Minato would disappear,
Weave.
floating right above the man, using his flying Raijin technique, slamming him to the ground with it, planting a marker on him. The man would disappear, cursing himself for falling for it. He watched Minato, his shoulder falling apart at a cellular level from the intense impact Minato's Rasengan had on him. You got me. This is what is meant by elusive. I should have never let my guard down. The moment he said that, a kunai was in his gut. This was the moment when Minato could utilize all of his rage. No pity existed in Minato's eyes, only steely determination, a gaze that said, "You just died, pal." He would then plant a contract seal on him to sever his connection to...
You just died, pal! So this time, he just murks this nigga. You just died, pal. What?
You just died, pal.
I ain't gonna lie. Minato, I never thought I would say this. Minus 10,000. 6,000.
With this, the Nine Tails no longer belongs to you, he shouted. The man would manage to escape through the use of a strange space-time jutsu
You just
technique.
died, pal.
Minato wanted to follow after and kill him, but he had no time. He needed to get to the village. Arriving
You
there,
just-
he
you just
found the
lost,
Nine Tails
pal.
as it charged its attack and ready to destroy the village with a tailed beast bomb. He caught a
Imagine
quick
that in
glimpse of Hiruzen
Storm
and
4. You double tap triangle twice. You just died, pal.
There, Kushina and he faced the Nine Tails. Kushina begged him to seal it back into her and drag it to the grave with her, but he refused. He would not do that. The imbalance between world powers would start the Fourth Shinobi World War. Instead, he decided to seal it into the only one who would survive this battle, Naruto. He began to weave the signs. However,
Okay.
before he could, Kushina knocked him on his rear with a devastating punch.
Oh.
Minato had never felt anyone punch him that hard and that fast, but
Oh.
she did. Kushina refused. "If I'm going to die anyway, and you're hell-bent on doing this to our child, then I'll just use the Reaper. After all, who do you think taught you how to do it?" She weaved the hand signs faster than Minato could ever hope to.
Oh.
Perhaps it was because she was afraid he would stop her. Maybe he would. He would rather die than live in a world without her. That was the main reason he did this. The main reason why he
What?
chose to use that seal instead of any of the plethora of other seals he had. Minato wanted to die. It was planned to be heroic and glorious and look selfless, but when it boiled down to it, he chose this amongst the other options specifically because he didn't wish to live in a world where Kushina did not exist. But she had stolen that opportunity.
Do y'all agree with this take on Minato? Is this fact, fiction, or a mix of it? He's changing the story because he believes that Minato just didn't want to live in a world without Kushina, so much so that's why he did it. He would never do this. Cap. Fiction. Now, one nigga said yes. Damn. Usually, maybe comment 246 got a well actually for me because damn, it's usually one naysay, not one nigga.
opportunity from him. The Shinigami appeared behind her, its dagger in its mouth. She began to siphon power from Kurama, reverting it to chakra and planting it into Naruto.
Oh my
Minato
God.
could only watch.
Usually
Kurama would
there's
attempt to
someone
kill
that
the
agrees
child
with
before she could
anything.
complete the ritual, but she jumped in the way, taking this blow personally. She finished the ritual and sealed the tailed beast into Naruto. She then fell to the ground. Minato ran over and
Yeah,
held
Minato would never sit there and watch her do this, though. I do agree with Chad.
For a
Minato
moment,
never
the
in his
Shinigami
life would
remained,
let her
her
watch
soul
it.
not yet
No,
devoured.
it's not happening.
He held her, his bleeding wife, in his arms as his Haori, the same he had placed beneath her head.
The idea of
was
Minato
red
would
with
just sit
blood.
there and
Was
watch
this a
that shit,
curse?
even
Was
if
he
she
cursed?
did the song
curse
faster.
of the
You never
fourth
just sit there
Hokage,
and watch that
Death's
shit.
Hokage. She looked up at her husband, who was visibly falling apart. He looked down at her like a
Wait,
child
she put it in her
whose
son?
favorite,
Wait.
most beloved
Did she
toy
take
had been
half?
rent to
We're
pieces.
going back. Please tell me this woman took half.
She finished the ritual and sealed the tailed beast into Naruto. She then fell to the ground. Minato ran over.
Oh. Okay, so show's over. Yeah, show's over. Naruto just combust. If you don't believe Naruto wouldn't just hilariously combust at the idea that the full-fledged Nine Tails is inside this nigga, fine. At some point in time, Kurama gets free way earlier.
Same. He had
She did
placed
take
beneath
half.
her
I'm
head,
hoping.
coated
I'm
red
hoping
with
so.
blood.
Hoping I
Was
missed
this a
that.
curse? Was he cursed? The curse of the fourth Hokage.
Where did y'all hear
Death
her say
of
that?
Hokage.
Y'all hear her say that, or y'all being Chad?
He looked down at her like a child whose favorite, most beloved toy had been rent to pieces. It was endearing, yet it saddened her as his tears fell down to her face, mingling with her own. She wanted to coddle him. He had always held himself together well in front of others, but only she saw it. When Obito died, she held him as he cried openly. He cried tears of joy and fear when he heard that he'd be a father. So happy, yet so terrified that he wasn't worthy, that he
Type shit.
wouldn't be good enough. She had always seen the Minato that he would hide away from people, and now that same sad, scared little Minato was bubbling to the surface again. She raised her hand to wipe his tears. "Why did you do that?" he asked her. She smiled. "Because Naruto needs a papa. It would be selfish to rob him of both. I know what you were doing, Minato. For a moment I asked why. Why you? Why did it have to be you? And then I realized it didn't have to be you. You wanted it to be you. But that's not the hand you've been dealt. You're a father now. And Naruto comes before all else, okay? He comes before you. He comes before me. The only thing I would never ask you to sacrifice for him is the village, and even then, I would hope that such a day never comes." Tears and blood dripped from her cheeks. Her breath began to escape her.
You said
Live,
Naruto's above
Minato.
all except the village. I mean, gee, I don't know. I might choose my tot. Sorry, Leaf. I might choose my tot over the Leaf. I'm not gonna lie, gang.
For Naruto's sake, live. She exhaled, and it seemed that along with that breath, her soul left. Looking back, he saw the Shinigami begin to swallow up a silhouette of chakra shaped like Kushina. He reached out to stop it, but his hand phased through. It then rose up into the sky, fading away in the light of the full moon.
Damn.
The barrier she had formed began to collapse, and Minato was left only to his thoughts. He opened his eyes in the presence, his dark reverie having come to an end, and found himself lying in a hospital bed in the emergency room, doctors and nurses standing over him. His body was beaten, bloodied, and bruised from his battle, but he could still feel them prodding.
How? Who the fuck beat him up? Who the fuck beat his ass? The Nine Tails? I must have been laughing over it. You know what? I'm not even gonna get mad because as far as I heard, all he did was,
You died, pal.
so I admit, who the fuck beat his ass? Obito. Niggas jumped him when he was sleeping? It was 4 niggas, huh?
He sat up with a start, pushing all those around him away.
Four
The doctors made room
doctors?
to let him breathe. He looked down at his exposed chest to see the dried blood from lacerations and the purple around his ribs, signs of fracture. He tried to stand, but gripped his side and almost fell to the ground. He was grabbed by one of the nurses, but he pushed them away. "Naruto! Where's Naruto?" he cried out. One of the doctors that dared approached him slowly put his hand on his
Wait,
shoulder.
so now that Naruto has 44 and or 100% Kurama, imagine that nigga had 4 whiskers. Holy shit.
In the NICU, he's safe and healthy. He has a demon! He's not safe or healthy, he cried out. Suddenly, the room began to spin and darken as he heard staff clamoring to his side. His
fuck? Why
body
would he
light
do
as a
that?
feather as he felt it strike the cold tile. In the darkness, he heard a voice. He heard the sound of a gentle song. He was before a lake on a picnic blanket, lying in Kushina's lap as she gently stroked the top of his head, uttering a sweet lullaby, helping her overworked husband find some rest.
So this
When
is
he
like
next awoke,
over-the-top
he was lying flat in a
PTSD
hospital bed with an
Minato?
oxygen mask strapped to his face, his body covered in wires. He looked around with his one eye that wasn't swollen shut to see his heart monitor. It beeped along with his pulse, so he knew he must be alive. He looked around at the window to see light pouring in from outside. The sun was rising. He must have been out for around 5 hours. A nurse came in to check
So
him
they
and
hit
saw
us
that he
with
was
2
awake and
dreams,
called for
or I'm
attention.
confused.
The
Fuck
head
it.
doctor came in and looked at him. He pulled a small flashlight and gently opened the only eye that was capable of being opened and shined the light into it to check for dilation. He would then look to Minato. Lord Forth, it's a pleasure to have you back in the land of the living. Minato's voice was weak. Its tone caught somewhere between a whisper and a grumble. Naruto. Naruto. The doctor smiled reassuringly. Your son is fine. We checked him thoroughly. It seems you protected him from any true, lasting harm. His body is healthy, his lungs certainly work, his chakra reserves are strong, and he's eating well. Minato was relieved.
Type
For
shit.
a moment, he was silent. How long have I been out? 5 hours? 6? The doctor looked to the nurse and then
Couple
back
months.
to the Hokage. You've been out for 3 days.
Fuck. 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 Oh my god. If that nigga had said 4 days, full Minato would have lost his shit. Minato had been out for 4 days.
Minato
Holy
looked
shit.
around. 3 days. The doctor nodded.
That's 72
Yes,
hours.
Your body needed time to heal, and you were in a panicked state. We've had you sedated for 3 days. My apologies.
He
but it was
woke up on
paramount
the
that I
floor.
ensure your safety.
So today is day 4.
Minato gripped the mask on his face and pulled it, snapping the elastic holding it on. Hold on, sir. Don't try to... Minato threw the mask and then began pulling off the electrodes. He sat up and felt a pain in his side. The dark purple on his ribs had faded to a pale gray with a hint of dark green.
Nah,
The
I
doctor
fucking
just
love
nervously
Minato,
propped his head in
man.
his hand, tapping his
This
cheek
version of
at 2
Minato was
taps per
peak.
second as he watched the most powerful man in the village disobey his orders to stay in bed and heal. He pulled the covers off and put his feet on the floor. Every breath had to be shallow. Anything more would be
Nigga,
too
is that a
excruciating.
board?
Take me to my son, he said. Enough power in his voice to be
No,
audible,
you can't. Nigga,
be too
is that motherfucking Bort?
excruciating. Take me to my son, he said. Enough power in his voice to be audible without cupped ears. The doctor didn't say anything, but the nurse did. She stuttered at first and then helped them. Of course, right this way. She led him down the hall with a little help. If they could not stop the Hokage from moving, then the least they could do was help him move. They walked until they came to where the babies were held after the incident. To his surprise, Makoto and Itachi were there. She had Sasuke in her arms. She walked to him. "Lord
Baby
Forth, are you
Sasuke.
okay?" He nodded. Physically, I'll live. More importantly, are Itachi and Sasuke okay? She nodded. Sasuke doesn't even seem to know what happened, and Itachi, he's my little hero. If he hadn't been there, we would have been crushed. Minato forced a smile. Is that so? Huh. Maybe I got competition. Keep that up, and maybe you'll make Hokage one day. He pat Itachi's shoulder as he passed by him. He looked into the room to see Naruto in a small bed equal to his size, sleeping. The nurse looked on, her gaze switching between Minato and Naruto at regular intervals. She would speak up. Would you like to see him up close, Lord Forth? Minato would nod. She would gently open the door as to not disturb the rest of the babies.
Okay.
She would walk him over. He's completely healthy, sir, she would tell him in a light and gentle voice. He's more healthy than you are. Minato would look at his son.
Damn.
He would put his finger forward and stroke Naruto's hand with it. Naruto's little hand would open and grip onto Minato's finger. Minato would gasp slowly as his eyes would sparkle a little in the presence of the most adorable thing he had ever witnessed. He wanted to hold him, to carry him, to spend every waking moment with him. Minato's thumb would begin stroking Naruto's hand that gripped Minato's index finger. He knew he wasn't strong enough to hold Naruto up. Hell, Minato was barely strong enough to hold himself up. So for now, this small token of affection...
All right,
was all he
Minato,
could
tighten the
offer
fuck up. God damn it, I called it. Someone's gonna be a pussy, and the answer is this, nigga. God damn it, all right, bro, we get it.
Wake up, nigga.
Lock in.
Get healthy so you can be with him. Minato would nod. After this, he began to take his rest a lot more seriously. He would return to his bed, much to the relief of the doctor. For doing this, they would allow Minato to sit up and would even open his blinds so he could look out over Konoha. Wasn't good for a man who was trying to heal, both physically and emotionally. But at the same time, he attempted to his best degree to see the glass half full, by recognizing how much of the village was saved, and how many lives now existed because of their sacrifices. His mind decided to use this time to be productive, thinking of new ways with which to mend the broken village. And as he did so, Hiruzen would appear bearing a vase of yellow roses. Yellow roses for the yellow flash. He had hoped that this kind gesture would get his quick friend back up to speed. Minato smiled as Hiruzen entered the room. How are you doing, Minato? Minato would chuckle a little. I feel like I've been tossed into a trash compactor, but I'll be good. Hiruzen would laugh. I'm glad to hear it. Hiruzen would pull up a seat. The Nine-Tails attack has crippled much of our infrastructure. Many of our
Duh.
shinobi have been wounded or killed, and it's left Konoha vulnerable. So
Duh.
far, no nation has moved against us, but a few are showing interest in the Nine-Tails attack, chief of which is Kumo. They've been mentioning it a lot. Minato's brows raise. Wow, news travels fast. In this modern day and age, technology allows for one to speak to another across the planet and have a face-to-face meeting without anyone leaving the comfort of their office. Such a thing was merely a dream in my day and age. Jutsu could replicate such effects, but such abilities were difficult to learn and rarely used by anyone. The magic lantern body technique was one such jutsu, but it was hardly reliable. Little more than a talking silhouette. Minato would listen to the old man prattle. He enjoyed it when Hiruzen would lose track of the conversation and just rant about the newfangled technology all the young ninja are using these days. Sad as it was, though, Minato needed to cut him off and ask for more information. Do we have any leads on who might be behind this attack? I know for certain that this was planned. It wasn't an accident. Hiruzen would speak. No villages or groups have claimed responsibility. There are rumors flying around, though. Some say it's the ghost of the Uchiha. Minato looked up at Hiruzen.
It's Madara!
It felt similar to what Madara had used, but I didn't believe it. Madara should be dead. There's no way he's alive. Hiruzen would disagree. I don't know about that, Minato. I've seen many jutsu in my time, and some knock on very unethical doors. Included among these is the ability to bring the dead back to life. Minato was shocked to hear this. Bring the dead back to life. Hiruzen nodded. The impure world reincarnation jutsu. When used with a living sacrifice, the dead can be revived in a body that never dies. You can wound it and rip it apart, but they will merely regenerate later.
Translation, just call it the reanimation jutsu.
Hiruzen himself was shocked. How do you not? You're Hokage. The scroll of seals is in your possession. There are jutsu in there that are not meant to be remembered, but also not meant to be forgotten either. The creation of the Edo Tensei is among them. Minato was completely befuddled. He hadn't studied the scroll. Ever. Maybe now he should. And you said that their bodies would regenerate? Hiruzen nodded. Minato,
I'm not necessarily confirming or denying that I know Minato knows these things, but I don't like this Hiruzen teaching Minato like Minato's some kind of dumbass. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he knows about this specifically, so maybe Hiruzen got the one up on him here. But I hope this isn't like a thing, right? Like, this ain't gonna be a thing that Minato just is not one of the smartest niggas on the screen at all times. Like, I pray to God that's not a theme.
I struck him with a Rasengan and his arm seemed to melt off. Would an Edo Tensei do that? Hiruzen thought on this. Their bodies do display some form of decay, which only gets worse the more inexperienced the caster is with the jutsu. Could be Madara Uchiha. But the true question was who the caster could be. Minato asked that much to Hiruzen. Hiruzen sat back in his chair. That's the issue. There's a flaw in the impure world reincarnation jutsu. If the Edo Tensei manages to learn the proper hand signs, they can break control from their caster. The one who summoned them then can no longer control them, nor can they unsummon them. Their summon is left to the world in an immortal body, never-ending chakra reserves, incapable of dying. Minato was getting a bad feeling in his
stomach. This nigga
Hiruzen
spread a rumor to Minato that Madara is a ghost, and not only a ghost, but an immortal ghost that was reanimated and therefore cannot die. I mean, even in this verse, this guy. Even in this verse, this fucking guy, man. Whoa, this guy here is in. Oof. If the third had this thought in this what if, why wouldn't he have this thought in OG Naruto? Actually, is that like the first successful gotcha from Chad in God knows how long? That's actually a fantastic point. Yeah, what? Because Kushina dying ain't got nothing to do with the fact that this nigga Obito survives regardless. Huh? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's just a weird change just for change's sake. Why would he think this now? Yeah, nah, that doesn't make sense. GG's. I ain't got nothing. Comment 734. Go at it, because this isn't my take. I'm just necessarily agreeing with him. But Lexi, I got your back. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You know what? I'm going to stop it right there, too, because you're cooked, buddy. Why the fuck would Hiruzen think that this is now some ghost reanimated nigga now, but like earlier he wouldn't think this? What the fuck? Let me know your thoughts. Maybe Hiruzen did think that? Subscribe to the channel and become a member, man. That's where all the uncut stuff is. Follow up the Twitch as well. Take care, stay blessed. Hopefully next time on Dragon Ball Z, the story moves to Naruto as a goddamn beginning, because we do not need the mystery anymore. Not gonna lie.